Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mummy, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it. Hey everybody, welcome. Today is Wednesday, May 1st. It is May. We're now in the 90-day window to the upcoming July 2024 exam. I have Tracy and June with me today. We've been doing this a long time, and somehow it always seems surprising when we turn the corner and hit that 100-day, 90-day mark, and the test is like there.
Yeah, I don't know if it surprises us so much, but it really surprises students. This is what you've been working for, what you've been training for. And without an end goal, it just would seem like it's
Yeah.
never going to end. So I think the end goal, having the goal date of the exam date, is very important to our mindset of what we're trying to accomplish. And a lot of people turn that into anxiety the closer they get, where that actually could be turned into the fuel you need and the excitement you need because you are now so much closer to where you need to be. And this is one thing, the one thing you've got to do to get there. And so the mindset I would love for everybody to have is excitement. And this is what I've worked for. And I'm thrilled. Think about if you were an Olympic athlete and you just trained and trained and trained, but never got to compete. You would start to lose your motivation to train. And that is what the test should be. The test is your event. That is your competition or to compete in. And that's how to view it. If that helps, this is what you're working for.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And this is when it gets exciting for us. We're still wrapping up results from the February exam. But as we make this transition into the 90-day period, it starts to get real, doesn't it? Tracy, you're watching and working with students, and you get that sense that people are coming out of their cocoons and saying, okay, I think it's time to get going here.
I see little beats pushing through, but I would like to see a full breakout now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about some things that are going on, some tools that are available, and some events that we've got coming up. But this is the time to get underway. I want to start today by talking about February results. We got a few more in this week. We are basically now waiting on California. That's the last big jurisdiction to give us results. We did get the Georgia results last week. I want to talk about those for just a minute. In Georgia, the overall pass rate was 52%, and the repeat taker rate was 38%. There were 500 takers. That's a relatively small February testing group in Georgia, and it mirrors what we're seeing around the country, that we had fewer bar takers. I thought it was interesting in terms of some of the media play from the February results are, boy, best ever. Numbers are up over the last couple of years. It's getting better. And that's really a misreading, I think, of the numbers overall. The reality is that for repeat bar takers, the numbers continue to be very low. 38% in Georgia is not anything terribly exciting, to be sure. In Alabama, the repeat bar taker rate was 20%. In Connecticut, it was 26% for repeaters. Ohio had 39% repeater pass rate. Oregon had a 47%, although in a very small sample size. In South Carolina had 42%. And those were our states that released results this last week. So Georgia's kind of in the middle at the 38%, but it's still pretty clear to me as these results have come in, and California will be lower numbers to be sure than any of these jurisdictions, maybe not lower than Alabama, but certainly lower than everybody else, that the test is just hard. And the February test is not harder than the July test, as we talked about last week, but for repeat takers, it's definitely a challenging test. If you got your results back from February and you've thinking that you should wait 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks to start your studies for July, why would you be doing that? The people that are going to be competing with you, the ones that are successful, are the ones that turned right away and started their studying. So why would you give somebody a 1 week, a 2 week, a 3 week, a 4 week advantage. And it's interesting, isn't it, Tracy, to watch people trying to recover from the emotional distress of not passing and then say, I think I'll get started sometime mid-May. That's really putting them at a disadvantage, isn't it?
I think it is for sure. I'm hoping that for those of you watching here and for those of you that we work with, that you think of May as something radically different than April, and that your May 1, your May Day time on your calendar says get going on your bar prep, because now you are literally less than 3 months from the exam, and you need that time to get yourself mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, and substantively prepared.
I definitely think so. And I would just caution any of you watching these results coming out from around the country. When you hear the pundits telling you the numbers are good and the scores are up, they're talking about first time takers and they're talking about relatively small numbers. And so the reality here is you need every day that you can get right now. And so if you are thinking you're going to take the July exam, as Tracy just said, the calendar flipped over to May. This is when you begin. And so today really marks the kickoff, in our view, of when you should be studying pretty aggressively for the upcoming test. Now, in that same context, one of the areas in which I've gotten a lot of communication from students is with respect to UBE jurisdictions. For a long time, we've recommended to people that they shop jurisdictions for the UBE because the score doesn't really matter. Where you take the test doesn't matter. You can apply the score anywhere. And so we've had people just trying to find a jurisdiction that's convenient or comfortable or less expensive or smaller or whatever it might be. We're beginning to see a new trend, and I wanted to just point this out because it's really interesting to me. UBE jurisdictions now are talking about what they call courtesy seating. That is, we know you're coming into our state to take the exam, but you don't plan to actually be licensed in our state. And some states are actually beginning to say, we're not going to provide courtesy seating anymore. Tennessee was one that just came up with this. And these are new rules. And my point in pointing this out is to say to you that if you are thinking about looking for a jurisdiction to take the test, but not one that you're necessarily going to practice in, be careful about these rules. We can't tell you specifically how to proceed with them. That would be legal representation. We're not in that business. But I can tell you that you've got to be proactive. Don't sit back and wait to find out what the examiners have to say about this. Find out where it's possible for you to take the exam and what the rules are in that jurisdiction to take the exam. The rules are changing. There's no question about it. The other part of this that I thought was really interesting, Tracy, is that we're starting to see more and more jurisdictions that are putting attempt limits up. Like you could only sit 4 times or 5 times, or you have to provide some sort of petition and information. And well, I know that's hard for people. There is a wisdom to that, which is that the examiners are saying what we've been saying for a long time. Are you doing anything differently? Or are you just showing up and taking the exam and showing up and taking the exam? Last week, I called those zombie bar takers. I got some pushback. There were some people that said, that's not very nice. But really, it's a way to describe what's going on. People doing the same thing over and over again, and their numbers just don't change.
Yeah, these states are savvy to what's going on. They're savvy to forum shopping, and they're not going to make it easy on you to do that. It costs them a lot of money to put on a bar exam. And even though you're paying a fee each time, they are interested in whether or not you're going to stay in their state and actually be a barred attorney in their state. Okay, they're going to do it as a courtesy, but they're not going to go out of their way forever to make it easy on you.
And I think that as you're looking at these dates and these jurisdictions, it's on you as the applicant to get the information. I continue to be surprised at how many applicants are, as Tracy, you talk about being on your heels or being on your toes. A lot of applicants are on their heels. They're just not being very proactive. And then they're surprised to find out, oh, whoops, I can't take this exam in this jurisdiction because I'm repeating, or there's some other requirements of courtesy seating or whatever it might be. But fundamentally, what it really comes down to is you have to do things differently. We've said it the examiners are saying it. It is the reality here. And I just see too many people just going through the motions right now. And that bothers me. I'm not going to lie. I get really nervous when I see people just doing nothing fundamentally different. And then now the examiners are saying, look, you got to prove to us you're going to study differently, or we're just not going to let you take the exam. Word to the wise, get out there, look at it. And in fact, I think today, May 1st, was a deadline in many jurisdictions for the July exam. So for many of you, if you haven't already filed your application, get on it today, and you may end up be taking the exam in February of 2025. So I want people to be aware of that. When we talk about doing things differently, one of the things that people should be doing differently is taking advantage of the resources and the opportunities for improved study. And we are providing one of those events coming up on May 10th and 11th. It's our live virtual boot camp. This will be a 2-day experience that we'll be hosting online in a Zoom format. And during these 2 days, we're going to teach you photo reading, mind mapping, talk about superegos, talk about mindset. Then we're going to do practical training in essay writing, performance test writing, and multiple choice test taking. There is a lot on the docket there, isn't there, Tracy?
Yes. And did you mention mindset coaching? Because we
Yes, I
that.
did.
You know,
Yep.
my mind was obviously somewhere else. Yes. We're going to do all of those things and give you opportunity for community, which is so important. We'll spend lunch hours with an open screen so you can talk to your fellow takers. And it's just so important to know that you're not the only one experiencing the things that you are experiencing.
Yeah. And the beauty of virtual boot camp is you don't have to leave home. Keep not traveling. We're starting what time, Tracy, on Friday?
9 o'clock Mountain Time.
Right.
So that's
So,
11 on the East Coast. That
right.
is 8 o'clock if you're on the West Coast.
And so we go
Mm.
full day on Friday, and then on Saturday, start at the same time. We do a full day on Saturday. And the fee for this is dramatically less than the live boot camps that we're doing, the in-person boot camps. This fee is $1,200. You could actually even pay for it over time with Klarna or Affirm or Afterpay. In June, I'm assuming you've already probably put the link up for the boot camp. Now, there is a deadline to register. And the deadline is a week from today. It's May 8th. And after May 8th, if we've got space available and you want to register, it's going to cost you more than $1,200. Don't make that mistake. We need to know who's going to be here so we can plan accordingly. This will be small group settings. So really a lot of attention. You'll be writing an essay and maybe only a couple of other people with you. And then the coaches will be working with you on that work or the MBE or whatever it might be. The
Yes,
other
you're actually going to come to the boot camp with an essay already written and an MPT already written. We'll send out those materials later this week.
So it's important to get registered. I know we've heard from some students that said, I'm planning to register. This is the time you should go ahead and do it. The other question that's come up, people have said, if they're retaking the exam, they're saying, what should I be doing to get over the top? What's the best thing? In my view, virtual boot camp probably gives you more bang for the buck than anything else because you're getting exposed to photo reading. Even if you haven't been a photo reader, we're going to teach it to you. If you are a photo reader, we're going to improve it. You're going to get mind mapping assistance. You're going to get assistance from June on mindset, which is just incredibly valuable. You're going to be getting essay writing instruction, performance test instruction, MBE test taking instruction, plus all the other things. I don't know where else you could put all that together for $1,200. I think,
Yeah, I think it's almost double if we figured it all out.
yeah. So this is really a great opportunity to do that. And if you were at a live boot camp, there's even a discount for you. So just reach out to us and we'll let you know. It's hard for me to understand why somebody wouldn't want to do this, frankly. This is not terribly time consuming. It's one work day, probably a part of a Friday and then Saturday. And it's not Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day weekend, but it's not Mother's Day. We're trying to be thoughtful about that. But we really would like to see you there. Amanda will be there. Tracy will be there. June will be there. I'll be there. So we are excited about this. We did this format last fall, didn't we? Was that when we did it, Tracy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we did it somewhere in the past.
December. It was December.
Yeah, I think it was December.
Okay.
The difference is we're not just going to throw a bunch of books at you and throw a bunch of mimeograph. Remember the mimeograph? We're not going to throw a bunch of printed material at you and just say, here, go off and do this. We're going to sit down and Jackson's going to teach you how to do photo reading and answer your questions and walk you through it so you can see how it works. He's going to teach you how to mind map, and then we're going to look at your mind maps in small group settings to help you get those the way they need to be. We're going to look at actual essays that you write with a couple of other students so you can see some of the same mistakes that are being made. And we're going to help you correct those and write them better and give you an opportunity that Friday night to rewrite what you came with and have it looked at again on Saturday. You're going to get an opportunity to be in a really small setting with June and get the benefit of June's mindset coaching. It's not, nobody else does anything.
I want to have it because I've heard from a couple of our alumni that have been and going, I've already done it, Jen, and that's great. And here's what I told them. I hold a license through Kentucky, and every 3 years I have to renew. And that means I have to sit through the same class all over again, all day long to renew this license. I think I know everything there is to know, and it never surprises me that every time I sit through this class every 3 years, and I've done it now, I think 3 times, that I learned something new, or I go, oh, I forgot about that. So it
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
benefit.
And I wanted, I want to build on that because I did a review session with a student that sent me their essays from the February exam. And this student had gone through some personal coaching and knew how to write FLA. Then I'm looking at the essays from the exam and they're not FLA. They're just all over the board. They're 4 paragraphs here. There's no law in the middle of the second paragraph and so on and so forth. And this is a good student, somebody that's really working. And I said, what happened? They just got out of the habit, right? They got sloppy. And so to your point, June, this refresher to go back and say, this is how you should be writing is really important to do. And look, if you didn't succeed on the last exam, you got nothing to stand on. You need some coaching, you need some help. And this is a good way to do it, I think. There you go. I'm off my soapbox. But it kills me when people, and then the funny part is that the student says, oh, I thought I was doing it the right way. And it's like, yeah, you weren't. So come to virtual boot camp. Let us clean up the mistakes that you're making. Maybe it's a small thing. Maybe it's big stuff, right? Or maybe it's stuff that you've never learned. Tracy, your section on superego is going to be all news material that nobody's seen before, right?
All new. And with some exercises on how to calm that inner critic.
Yeah.
So please come and work with that on.
And this inner critic piece is really important. I'm going to play a short video in just a minute. I did an interview with a successful student this week who talks about the key to her being successful on the exam. Guess what? It was not learning more law. It wasn't getting better at hearsay rules. It was all around her belief and her mindset and quieting the superego.
A student this morning, Jackson, that is sitting with us, and that was the thing they said was, I need to study more, I need to know more. And I'm like, everything you need to know. You do not have to, you just need to believe that, and that will help you overcome your anxiety. Because that was I need to know more, I need to overcome anxiety. And that was the whole thing, is everything. You don't need to know more. You don't need to cram more in your brain. You need to take control of the anxiety that will allow you to access the knowledge.
I think this might be a good time actually for me to play this little clip. It's about 3.5 minutes. This was with a UBE student and her name's Elizabeth. And I think it's a great excerpt. So let me just play that. I'll pop that up here on the screen and let's watch that together. Okay. What was your score on that first UBE test?
It was a 242, I believe.
Okay. So to be clear, you went from a 242 to a 264. That is a pretty extraordinary jump, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would say it is.
Congratulations. That's awesome. So I want to unpack a little bit about what happened, because I think what our audience would like to know is, What did she do?
This time was different because I believed that I could pass. Yes, I believed I could pass. I believed I deserved to pass, that it was my time to pass. And I just kept telling myself that. And it was amazing. I just thought being terribly nervous about the exam, thinking that it's one of the hardest exams that anyone could possibly take, which may be true or may not, but it certainly is a very challenging exam, as everyone watching this video is probably aware. I realized that thinking about it with a negative mindset did not work before, and I needed to do something different. I thought, what do I have to lose? The worst that can happen is that I just don't pass again. But I'm a happier person believing that I could do it. And I did do it.
So the day you get the actual score, that it's over 260. What's your reaction?
Tremendous relief and pride. I was very proud of myself after going through the horrendous feelings of not passing these exams, after putting in so much work, after so many nights of not enough sleep, after just the constant worry that just is always over your head as you're preparing for the exam, as you're waiting for the results. And just being able to finally let that go was transformative.
And we're very proud of you as well. It takes a certain special kind of person to persevere and hang in there and just go at it. And there may be people out there that are watching that go, oh, only 4 tries. I'm up to 10 or whatever it might be. But 4 tries means 2 years of your life that just got tied up in bar exam.
Absolutely. I think anyone that has taken the exam at all, and let alone those people that have had to take it more than once or multiple times, they understand it is, you feel like your life is on hold while this entire process is playing out. And there are moments where you think, why does it have to be like this? Your quality of life doesn't seem as good. You don't see your friends and family as often. You're just constantly focused on this exam and the results and the impact of whatever those results are, one way or the other. It really was meaningful.
22 points is a huge jump.
I was incredibly proud. At first, I was a bit shocked, to be honest, because after failing the exam, it was incredibly satisfying to see that result. And I just chalked it up to looking at the exam in a different way, re-examining how I am approaching the exam and realizing that I was capable of doing it. And there's really no reason why I should not be able to pass this.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty compelling, isn't it, Tracy?
That is, I haven't seen that video yet.
No.
That's incredible. It just warms my heart and it puffs us up and it's just so great. And I think of all the faces in front of me of people I've been working with, and I just want to see them on that same video next time around.
Yeah. The full interview will be released today, and it's a great interview. But I just thought it was so stunning when Elizabeth said to me, yeah, the reason I passed is because I believed I could pass in June. You know,
Just, especially everybody on this call right now, that is what I keep saying is just believe. Even if you don't believe it, just believe it. Just keep saying it. Put it on Post-it note. And it will happen. What you want, you have to call into your life. And you don't sway from that. Even if you, oh, I don't know. I believe. Seriously, that energy has so much power. And I worked with Elizabeth. And I love that she says that because
great.
it really, because she was, I don't know, June. And I was like, just do it. And for her to say that, I'm just like, yes, because
Yeah.
she struggled too. Like she even said when she went to open it up, she was, because she's been there before. And that is a common neurological response from our body to go, but then and if the whole time, I don't care if you just believe it. I'm going to share a
Yeah.
story at Bootcamp. Nobody's going to hear it until Bootcamp about the power of belief. And I'm telling you guys are going to cry. You don't want to miss it. So, but
Yeah.
believing
You know, you
is
don't want to miss June's stories.
everything. Even if you can't see it, believe.
So we talked about having guest speakers at Live Bootcamp. We've got 2 of them scheduled. One is Michael, who we previewed last week, but we've got another bar taker who I don't know if he's going to do an interview or not yet, but he's agreed to talk to our boot campers. He was successful last week on the New York UBE. Okay. this individual has been taking the bar exam for 12 years. First time taker with us after all these tries, and did photo reading, did FLA, did exactly what we asked him to do, got his mindset right, and he went from a 255 to a 267, which is good enough to get licensed in New York, New Jersey, DC, Illinois, a bunch of jurisdictions. And his story is just remarkable and incredible. But he was talking about the fact that it was hard for him. He didn't want to tell people that it had been 12 years that he'd been taking the bar exam. And I understand that. And so sometimes people ask me, well, do you have people that pass? Yes, we have a lot of people that pass, but not everybody wants to tell their story. And so when someone like Michael or Elizabeth tell their story, do these interviews, we are very appreciative. And for our secret guest speaker coming to boot camp, again, it's going to be a story that's going to really knock your socks off. It's a great one. So this is part of what we do at boot camp, but it's also really the core of what we try to do here is to change people's lives. It's to move them. You heard Elizabeth talking about all the things she gave up. And this individual was talking about his family and how many sacrifices they've made over the years. He has a 9-year-old daughter, wasn't even born when he started taking the bar exam. Had only known him taking a test, and what a difference it makes. So these are pretty extraordinary stories, and these are extraordinary times. And we're really glad that you all are watching or listening today or on the replay. You're in the special group, but now go ahead and do something with it. Wanted to share that.
I want to just point out
Yes,
one
please.
more thing that Elizabeth said to you.
Yes.
That's so important. She believed it was her time. I talk about this a lot in group coaching, that she believed it was her time.
No, I think that's right. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. At the end today, Tracy's going to talk about a book called The Alchemist and your personal legend. And I think it's going to dovetail pretty nicely into all that, isn't it, Tracy?
Yes, it is. It's just it's so funny because we don't preview our Q&A calls, and it's funny how many times what's going to come at the end matches up. And it's because we just are in lockstep with this idea of how to get you over that hump. And we work together to do that. One of the other cool things about boot camp is you get a chance to tell your story to each other, to coaches, and that there's so much power in that.
Our stories, for sure. Quickly, just want to remind you that we also are doing a live boot camp in person next October. It will be October 25th and 26th here in Denver. You can register online and take advantage of the early bird registration. If you've been to a prior boot camp, you get a discount for that. If you're a photo reader, you get a discount. So you can really do the in-person session at a real discounted fee if you register now, and June can probably put that link up if she hasn't already. So just want to let you know, October 25th and 26th, in-person boot camp here in Denver. And then
I want to say one other thing about that, Jackson, if you don't mind.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think it's important in the middle of your bar study too, when it's so intense and you're at your desk and you're at your same workstation all the time and you're just looking with your books and your computer and all that. The live boot camp gives you an opportunity for retreat as well. It gives you an opportunity to step away from that environment and really think about what you're doing, think about what you're hearing, and immerse yourself in the experience so that it has its own value aside from the substantive value. And so we really want you to think about that. It's a lovely setting here in Denver, Colorado. And it's something you can do for yourself because you are sacrificing a lot to take this exam. And it's just something you can do to be in a hotel bed for a couple of nights and have meals provided to you and have the coaches and their personal energy in with you and your classmates too. So really think about that. And you've got plenty of time to pay for it. There's plenty of ways to pay for it, but this would be a good time to commit to that.
Great. Thank you. I agree totally. I want to get to a couple of study questions, and then we'll get to, I want to give Tracy enough time because she put together, apparently it took many hours to create her slide deck. So I want to make sure you get that chance. One of the questions that we've got new students starting in the course, and of course they're photo readers now, and they're asking, how do I integrate photo reading with my bar study at the beginning? Photo reading will take 8 hours to learn on your own. Now, I'll teach it at the boot camp in about 2 hours. And the way that you do this is you do an hour of photo reading lectures or one unit every day for the first 8 days of study. That does not mean that you don't study for the bar exam during those 8 days. You do all of your normal bar exam study. So if you've set aside 3 hours for the bar, one of those hours is photo reading and the other two are regular study, and you study just as you always would. By the time you get to lesson 6 of the 8 lessons, you're actually ready to start the photo reading process for real. And so at that point, while you continue to do your last 2 lessons, you now switch over in the course to the blue type instructions in every assignment for photo readers. It's right there on every assignment. It says, if you're a photo reader, do this. Gives you a little different timing, a little different instructions, and you start actually photo reading your materials. We've done this so that by the time they get to lesson 6 in photo reading is really just about the meeting point for substantive study in the course. So that's the idea. And then the final piece is that once you've hit lesson 6, you can schedule a conference with me to talk about photo reading. It's really funny. I do this conference all the time, and the questions are always the same, right? And they're always, I don't think I'm doing it right. And so we have to explain what it is. You can't do it wrong, go through it. But it's a really good chance to just check on the technique and to talk about the concept itself. If you're just starting out, an hour a day with photo reading in your photo reading online course, and then at about lesson 6, you just start integrating that into your studies. And it's funny. I talk to people all the time. Elizabeth, in this interview, we talk about photo reading. And she's, I don't know. I didn't understand it. I was skeptical. I didn't think it was going to work, but it worked. So there you go. And that's the story we just get over and over again. I think that's useful. Another topic I wanted to discuss, it came up in a student question. We had a student that submitted their essays in February of 2024. Scores came back and they got a 0 on one of their essays. And I said, 0? How could they lose your submission? And the applicant at that point, for the first time, said, oh, I handwrote my exam. Going to just say there were some things that people did going into the February exam that they didn't talk to any of the coaches about, like switching jurisdictions or handwriting exams, or you name it. If you're thinking of doing something outside the norm of what we teach, it's a good idea to talk to us in advance. Still your journey. You get to make the decisions, but I think you'd be wise to take advantage of our expertise throughout the team to see if it really makes sense. In any event, this individual handwrote their exams. So when the 0 came back, I said, why don't you get copies of your test books? Let's see what happened. So they got the test book, sent it back, and I read the essays, and then I actually gave it to Tracy to read it as well. And Tracy, what did we discover in the essay that got a 0? Do you remember?
I couldn't pick out but 3 or 4 words. I couldn't pick out a complete sentence. I can't imagine how a bar examiner who's looking at maybe hundreds of exams, even if they're only looking at 10 or 20, couldn't just look at that and say, no, get it. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. The fact that they gave this applicant a 0, not a 5 or a 10 or something else, they were sending a message. And the message was, if you're going to handwrite, we're going to just nail you. And the other 2 essays, they gave the applicant 25, which was really, and I parsed those essays. They were better, but you couldn't read them. But that 0 was really sending a message. And I thought it was quite a message. It was just, we're not even going to try. If you're going to handwrite, you're not going to pass. And the applicant I talked with, and I said, okay, lesson learned. I thought I'd taken some other bar exams. I'd handwritten them in the years past. Thought I could handwrite again. And it's just not, this is a different world. And so I'm just going to say it. Handwriting puts you at a disadvantage. It just reduces your score. Why would you do that to yourself? There's just no reason. And I asked this student, why did you handwrite? And they said, I'm afraid of the tech. He said, look, you got 90 days, type everything, type, that's the world we're in. It's like showing up for your driver's license test and you're on a horse. Think I trust those automobiles. This is the world we're in. You got to drive a car. You got to type. And this is something Yeah.
not used to reading handwriting anymore.
We're not.
And even if you can read your own, and even if your paralegal can read your handwriting, a bar examiner for the first time may not be able to. And just taking such a huge risk. And it doesn't look professional and it doesn't look like you care about it. Why should they?
Yeah, don't do it. All right. So enough said. Kids, if you're thinking of doing some weird thing, talk to us, please.
Even if it's not weird, if it's just different, talk to us first so that we can give you the benefit of our experience.
Yeah, please. We're on your side. We want to help you. So
I'll be nice. He'll be sarcastic, but you'll get the message.
you will.
And he'll build you back up.
Sure, they'll put you back together after I've reduced you to tears. And another quick question. We've got students ordering our product called bar maps. If you're not familiar with bar maps, this is a set of mind maps that we've pre-made for you. It's also time-stamped individual smaller pieces of the lectures. We've actually broken them into smaller pieces for you. Then fast finish audios that just take the audio track of the lecture and speed it up in a way that your brain can hear it, but it's different, right? It's called a fast finish. So how should I use bar maps to help me study? There's really, because there's 3 different products, you begin with the mind maps and you can modify those. You can print them out. You can add to them if you wish. It's a community kind of approach. Initially, we didn't go that direction with the mind maps. We kept them clean, but now we've just said, okay, if you've got bar maps and you want to add to one of those maps, go for it. And the whole community will see what you put in, which is really pretty cool. It's Tracy, remember that game that we got called the Hive Mind? It's like that. It's everybody contributing. And so it's a great way to use that part of the product. So I would start with that initially. And then I would use the videos to do spot work, particularly if you're retaking the exam. So let's say you took the exam in February and you're in evidence and you feel reasonably good, but you recognize that you've got some problems with character evidence and those rules. Well, you can go right to that section in the bar maps product, find that piece of the lecture and not have to wade through 4, 6, or 8 hours of lecture to get the material that you need. So that's a second piece. And then this third piece of fast finish is that if you have a weak subject, and we've seen people that get low scores on the MBE in a particular subject, for example, take the fast finish lectures for that subject and play them at night while you sleep. They work just as effectively. They're working to train your non-conscious mind. And so that's something you can be doing all the time. So it's a really great product. June can put the link up to order bar maps, but I really like it. I think it's got a lot of application at this point, but really the mind mapping is really important, isn't it?
It's hugely important. And these are great aids. The only caution is these can't be your only study tools. These are supplementary study tools. And they are really great ones before you start writing an essay, a property essay, for example, to listen to something briefly, just to get your head around that subject matter is a good idea. And then after you write the essay and you have one of us look at your essay, to go back and listen to it again. That's how these are really great tools for you to use in aiding you with your primary work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tracy, let's talk about the Alchemist and your personal legend. I'm anxious to see what you got for us.
I know. Okay. Hopefully the tech will work. Here we go. I have read this short allegorical novel many times. An allegory is a story that has its own plot and beginning, middle, and ending, but it also has a deeper message buried within it. And it's a book that requires you to read it maybe more than once and to study, let your mind go. Like we talked about, let your non-conscious mind inform you. So I want to talk to you about The Alchemist because there are so many messages in this book that I think are very apropos to what you're trying to do right now. Let me just walk you through it a little bit and tell you what I was thinking about as I read this and thinking of you all. Coelho's enchanting novel, The Alchemist, says author Anthony Robbins is a remarkable tale about the most magical of all journeys, the quest to fulfill one's destiny. It's a simple book full of charm and wisdom about an Andalusian shepherd boy who travels from his homeland in Spain across the Gibraltar Strait to Morocco, and then to the Egyptian desert in search of a treasure buried near the pyramids. What he realizes as his journey goes along is that the treasure, which is his personal legend, is within him the entire time. In a dream, a child tells Santiago, the boy, to give up his comfortable life with his sheep and follow his quest for a new life far from the only home and companions he has ever known. The child says to him in the dream, "If you come here, you will find a hidden treasure." And the dream comes to the boy 2 times, but both times he wakes up before the child can tell him the exact location where he's to dig. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. He remembers that in his village, there's an old gypsy known for interpreting dreams. And so he goes there. The gypsy tells him that he must follow these dreams and travel on a long journey to find his treasure. Later that day, or perhaps the next, he meets an old man who calls himself a king. And the boy asks the king, "What do you think is the world's greatest lie?" "It's this," replies the wise old man, "that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate." The old man introduces Santiago to his personal legend, what it is the boy always wanted to accomplish. But Santiago doesn't have a clue what a personal legend is. And so the man says to him, when a seeker first dreams of their personal legend, everything is clear and everything is possible. They're not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their dream, their personal legend. The mysterious force prepares your spirit and your will because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are, or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on earth. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Now, Santiago continues on his journey, and along the way, he's the victim of thievery. And in desperation, having been robbed of all the money he had from selling his flock of sheep, the boy ends up in the doorway of a crystal merchant, who the next day gives him work and lodging. Santiago sees this as an omen compelling him onward to find his treasure, his personal legend. He learns how to be an entrepreneur. He learns this work, and in the process, how to gain influence, money, and transport for his journey across the African desert. Santiago is tempted to stay with the merchant in Tangiers, where he has now found safe harbor. Omens of his good fortune urge him to go find the treasure at the foot of Egypt's pyramids. And he can't resist the treasure that he knows is his to find. So off he goes, paying attention to the omens that are presented to him along the way by the spirit of the world. It comes to pass that the boy meets a strange character, an alchemist, who travels in the company of a red falcon. What is an alchemist? It's a person who practices alchemy. Santiago is just as confused as you are about what this means. And the book gives many examples, but suffice it for our purposes to say that an alchemist understands in a special, visceral, innate way that the world has a soul, and whoever understands the world's soul can understand the language of all things. The alchemist is just one in a string of characters who point Santiago in the direction of his quest and give him courage to follow his dreams so they may be fulfilled. Santiago meets many obstacles along his way to the pyramids, to the treasure. People who do not want him to succeed, marauders who want to steal his possessions and his confidence, warring tribesmen who wield weapons of massive size and evil intention, and even charlatans who threaten to end his journey. But he stays true to his personal legend, to his quest, and he believes that indeed the universe is conspiring to help him find his treasure. In the ultimate test of his will and inner power, Santiago, who can represent both male and female, finally realizes that what started out as a journey to find worldly goods has turned into a discovery of the treasure and innate strength of heart found within him. His personal legend is being realized as it reveals itself in his daily struggle, his ability to understand the language of all things, the soul of the world, transforms the boy shepherd into a powerful alchemist in his own right. The story of Santiago is an eternal testament to the transforming power of our dreams and the importance of listening to our hearts. What is your story? What are your dreams? And how do they inspire you in this bar exam review journey? I encourage you, and June's encouraged you today, to listen. Listen to your heart and calm your mind of its inner critic so that your personal legend may be revealed to you. And you will know why you went to law school, why you are studying to understand the language and ways are once you are successful in finding your treasure, once you're successful in getting that score that puts you over the top. You have to believe in yourself and ignore all the naysayers who tell you will never reach your goals. Santiago had to believe in the dream. He had to believe in himself, and he had to put all those naysayers where they belonged, in back of him, not in front of him. You have to dream big and manifest your success. We can help you, but you have to do this part for yourself. Your personal legend is within you. Remember that when a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person realize their dream. And that's my parable for the day.
Well, thank you. There you go. It's a great book and a great story, and certainly has application. You got to make a change. You got to do things differently. And it starts with between your ears. It's rarely that somebody doesn't know enough law. That's not the problem. Problem is how they think about it. June?
That is correct. I love that story, Tracy, you did. And remember one thing, asking the universe, be very specific. Be very specific. And that also means you don't get it both ways. You can't be negative about what you want so bad. If you were at the last boot camp, I called it the gift. You've been given a gift and yet you complain about the gift. So stop it. This is your dream and your passion. Go for it. Do it. You will be supported. Everything will support you the minute you get specific on what you want.
Yeah. And I think I need to just say, because I get this criticism sometimes, we're not just talking about mindset here. And we're not just talking about photo reading. We have a course that's 300 hours of substance. You will learn the law in this course. You have outlines, you have lectures, you have question practice. We're going to teach you the law, but truthfully, that's the easiest part of this. It really is. And so that's why we make this emphasis on these other pieces, because that's what no one else in our industry does. Nobody else talks about this. And when I'm talking to people who have taken other courses and not been successful, this is the biggest thing that changes for them. And so that's why we emphasize it. So here we go. 90 days into the July exam. It's time to get real, time to get serious, time to get on your search and find your personal legacy. We will be here. Virtual Bootcamp, May 10th and 11th. Deadline is May 8th to register. Hope to see all of you there on that opportunity to learn and grow. And watch for these interviews that we're doing with successful students. They're always fun to see. And as I say, Elizabeth's interview will drop later today. So thank you, June, for being here. Thank you, Tracy, for being here. Amanda is still trying to recover. She came to Denver and got sick. There's something about our altitude for her that I think is just tough. She's getting better and she'll be back with us soon. And she is continuing to do the coaching. Bobka's doing his coaching as well. You can check out the group coaching
Bobka starts on
schedules.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'll be on tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. The group coaching calls are identified in the events tab in your community group. So check those out. And then we will be back next week on the 8th, getting ready just in front of virtual bootcamp. So we'll see you all again next Wednesday. Thanks everybody for being with us. Take care. Bye-bye.